let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of examples here. So in this first one, we're finding the measures of arcs and inscribed angles. So we want to know the measure of angle PRU. All right, so let's go ahead and trace this first. Okay, sometimes I think when I slow this down a little bit and just think about it logically, it sort of makes more sense, right? So here is angle PRU. Okay, so I'll just put maybe like a question mark here or something like that and say, okay, this is the angle that we want to know. Okay, and let's look at what we know about this picture and what might help us. Okay, so this is an inscribed angle. Okay, you can see the endpoints here, or the vertex here is on the circle, and the sides of the angle are chords on the circle. Okay, what we know here is we know this intercepted arc. Okay, this arc here is 118 degrees. Okay, and we have to remember that the inscribed angle is going to be equal to half of the measure of the intercepted arc. Okay, so here's what I'm going to write down, is that the measure of angle PRU is going to be equal to 1/2 times the measure of the intercepted arc, which is going to be the measure of arc PU. Okay, now let's look at the information that we know. Right? Again, we know arc PU. We know that that is 118 degrees. So I'm just going to say now that the measure of angle PRU is going to be equal to 1/2 multiplied by 118 degrees. Okay, and you can sprint to your calculator at this point if you really want to, or you can just sort of do this in your head. I would recommend checking your answer with your calculator. But we can say now that the measure of angle PRU is equal to 59 degrees. Okay, and this would be our final answer. Okay, so let's go ahead and maybe check out another one here. Okay, this next one we want to find the measure of arc SP. Okay, so let's take a look at what we want to know. Okay, we want to know this, arc SP. Okay, now let's look at maybe what information they're actually giving us. Okay, well, I don't think the 118 degrees for arc PU is really going to help us in this case, but we do know the measure of the inscribed angle, right? We know that the measure of the inscribed angle here, we can maybe call it angle PRS, is 27 degrees. So let's just write out our little formula here. I'm just going to write out the measure of angle mistake there. Measure of angle PRS is going to be equal to 1/2 times that measure of the intercepted arc, which is what we want to know. Okay, now let's just take this next step and plug in what we actually know. Okay, we know the measure of that inscribed angle. We know that's 27 degrees. So I'm going to say 27 equals, 1/2 multiplied by what we want to know. Okay, the measure of arc SP. All right, so in order to get rid of this fraction, remember you're just going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 2/1. So I'm just going to multiply both sides by 2 here. Okay, remember these reciprocals will multiply to 1, and I'll get my final answer that the measure of arc SP is going to be equal to 54 degrees. So again, pretty simple. Okay, let's go ahead and just look at one last problem here to see if it helps out, or you guys can kind of check your answers here on this. Okay, so let's look at one more here. So this one we want to know the measure of arc ADC. All right, so let's map that out here. Okay, A to D to C. Looks like a big one, right? So arc is going to be going around the circle, so it's not going to take any straight lines across the circle. So this is what we want to know. Okay, so again, that looks like a pretty big arc there. All right, now let's look at maybe what information might help us here. Okay, or maybe that arc is subtending what inscribed angle? Well, it looks like it's subtending this angle right here. Okay, and so the 76 degrees, don't really think that's going to help us out, but the measure of the inscribed angle actually will. Okay, so this is measure of angle ABC is 135 degrees. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to write the measure of angle ABC is going to be equal to 1/2 multiplied by the measure of that intercepted arc, or the measure of arc ABC. Okay, now let's just plug in the information that we know. So pretty simple. Okay, I'm just going to plug in that 135 degrees for the measure of angle ABC. Okay, I'll just kind of write down the rest of this stuff here. So I'm just sort of plugging in my known information, I guess. Okay, and now again, we run into the same thing, right? We're just going to multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of this fraction. Okay, 1/2 times 2 are reciprocal, so they'll multiply to 1, and I'll get now that the measure of arc ADC is going to be equal to 270 degrees. Okay, so I hope these extra examples are helpful, guys. Again, you should be looking at taking notes on this, so when you actually attempt your homework, this is pretty simple.